Aye.
Mala, mala, mala. Jungle, yatungo, garyamran. Mala, mala. Jay, ner. Thank you. And jungle, yatungo, garyamran. Me ling yana, there, I'm a more comment, mete, ramelinga, charo bidway, garai. Kadong changaling. In case I'm using an iPad as yeah, milling yana around comment mergor ka yana richiben. I will appreciate that. Mete garamade comment go, that would be very good. Jaya welcome, Jaya Yor, and Janko Nyatungo and Yamran. And a young did kel kia dira, and then topping the con Chagagor, Meraga Quenbo. You have to look into them. Guru, Baraika topping to your daughter. Takon get topping to chop with DH plus other things. But tribal and but minimize into perhaps 2 hours. Yep. So when a young did.
Chakap kali yang kun kerja jangan nak luar lawan warwan kun kerja kerja bapa tapi Allah yang negeri
Mala. Yeah, milling yana comment gorbe, so that I will be aware of ling yana. Milling yana, anybody that can hear me out there, please write a comment so I know that I'm not going to speak without being heard. I greet you all. I got one song, one full song and a half. Yeah, I don't know milling yanagar. Device me jidit kwai la kui milling yana. Milling yana de yan comment gor ki amate yan gora comment. I cannot see any comment on my end here. I can only see my one of my comment which I sent to you out saying that can you hear me please. So I don't know if you guys can hear me. I don't know, but I would love to know if you guys can hear me so I can start. Okay, let me check on the other device if I can hear. Because you guys are not active, you are not telling me whether you can hear me or not. Let me have a look, because I don't want to start talking without someone hearing me from the other end. Let me see. Okay. So let me check on the other device if I can hear. Okay. Yeah. Thank you guys. It seemed like this device there are certain things that I need to set up. It is, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Now I had. Yeah, these technologies are crazy, so I have to access YouGov through my second device. Yeah, thank you that you can confirm that you hear me, which is good. All right, thank you. Let me just finish. Okay, yeah, no, I confirm now. The iPad, which I just started using, it's a brand new one. Perhaps there are certain things that I need to fix. It is not showing me any comment. It is not even showing me any of the other signs like hands up and all that. But now I can tell because I have accessed you through the other device. So which is okay. I will continue. Let me just finish the song I was playing beforehand. Or actually, let me just play this song. This is one of my favorite songs, actually. I reckon it's a really good song composed by Nyajeje. After this song, I'm going to start, so you can share with your friends. All right, to be continued. Thank you. I will continue later. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, let me thank God for allowing us to see today. Today is Sunday, the 4th of January, 2026, and I'm privileged to be here today, thanks to the glory of God. I greet you all in the name of our country, South Sudan, a nation that is being ravaged by Salva Kiir and his cohorts. We will one day recuperate once Salva Kiir is no more. This country can produce a lot of good things for us. Unfortunately, we have been so unlucky to have a president in the name of Salva Kiir. If you had a look at my topics, I have a lot of issues pertaining South Sudan that I want to discuss with you and perhaps raise opinions regarding the topics. I don't know if you can read the topics or if you had the opportunity to read the topics. Thank you. Now I have. So if you have had the opportunity to look into the topics, I've got a host of topics, some of which are current affairs that are happening today. And some of them are things that had happened in the last 2-3 days. My first topic will be regarding the statement which was released by Ambassador Lowell Gatkoth, who used to also be a member and a leader within the SPLM-IO. A son of Nuer, who Nuer regarded highly at the time. Unfortunately, he fell from grace and rejoined the SPLM-IG of Salva Kiir. And for the past few years, many of you have came across some of his derogatory statements that he released. The last one, which was released 2 days ago, was not exception. And that is what prompted me also to open this room in order for me to have an elaborate views in how I can respond to his statement. We will also have my second topic is going to be okay, I have about 5 topics. The first one is responding to Lowell's statement. I'm going to read out the statement by Lowell Gatkoth, and I'm going to respond in kind to him. The second is Paul Nang visitation to Gadiang. He went there overnight with aim to go and raise morale to his forces that has been annihilated from Wad, Yai, and all the other areas. So he went there with a message to go and commission his forces to be military hardened so that they can face the SPLM-IO that are coming from the side of the Jonglei state, from the Low Nuer area. That was his mission, and that is still his mission currently. The third topic is going to be the forces of SOA. You guys know South Sudan Opposition Alliance. Their forces yesterday made a public statement in Akobo that they have rejoined, or they have joined the SPLM-IO because it is the only viable opposition movement out there now, apart from NAS. We will go there later on in deep to dig out why. And then the fourth one is Kiir regime is currently recruiting men and women from Awil and Greater Baragazal. What does this mean to the local people of Awil and Greater Baragazal, and what message should I tell them in regard to this forced recruitment? And the recruitment is being done in a way that it is not stipulated and it's not explained to the local clearly as to why. But the priority for this recruitment is Salva Kiir to deploy them on the front line, most in particular in Jonglei state. If this is effective, then that means the sons and daughters of Greater Baragazal, in particular, will go and perish in vain in a war that they should not accept to be part of. But I will talk about that topic later. Number 5, the concern from the Boer civilians regarding the movements of the SPLM-IO forces toward Boer and subsequently toward Juba. This has raised alarms from the local citizens or the local civilians in Boer regarding this movement of the SPLM-IO, whether it's going to affect them directly. I'm going to tackle that later. And also we have other things such as the insistence of Juba regime under Salva Kiir to violate or destroy the peace agreement in a disguise of peace. They are the one destroying peace agreement, yet on the other hand, they are advocating for peace. Sometimes this leaves millions of South Sudanese in confusion, that they do not know which way is the right one, which statement is the right one. So we are here to also explain with clarity what does Salva Kiir means when he say he is for peace, and on the other hand, is destroying peace agreement. What is it that you can trust? I do understand when there are mixed messages, people are confused in the middle, and therefore they will succumb to things that are not logical. Therefore, it is also incumbent upon us to make things clear so the people that are being misled and being misguided can see the truth and make the right decision. Now, to kickstart my program, let me appreciate those of you that have tuned in, and perhaps those who will listen to this audio later on. This is a new platform, and I'm building on it. My previous platform, it is in the process of being reestablished. Unfortunately, it's taking longer than I thought. So hopefully I'm going to bring it back, the account of Chanko Nyatungo and Nyamran. But until then, we are going to deal with this new account called Tungong Junub. Tungong Junub is also my name given to me by a well-respected elder in 2014. He called me and he gave me a lot of advices, and over time he told me that the advocacy that I was doing was not to a particular section of our people. It was an advocacy that was going toward the people of South Sudan, and therefore Tungong need to also be a representative for the voiceless people of South Sudan. Therefore, he encouraged me to adopt that name, Tungong Junub. Until recently, when I lost connection with my other account, I thought of creating a new account by the name Tungong Junub, in respect of that elder who lives currently in North America. So now let us go straight to the topics. And today is Sunday here in Australia, and very soon also we will be preparing to go to church. I would love to stay here for long. Unfortunately, due to the times, I perhaps only, going to only allow 2 hours, maybe maximum of 2.5 hours. But at first, let us look into the statement which was released 2 days ago by Ambassador Ezekiel Lolgatquoth, and then together we can analyze what is it that Lord Garkos is actually preaching about. On my part here, Lord Garkos is not a new person to me. His vile statements are not new. And his current adopted position is not new because we know exactly why Lord Garkos is in this situation. For those of you that always want to visit the history, you remember at the outset of the violence in South Sudan in December 2013, Lord Garkos was part of the 11 who were arrested by Salva Kiir. Together with the rest, Lord Garkos formed part of the 11 detainees. Upon realizing that these 11 detainees were arrested, Dr. Riek Machar and his forces campaigned for these 11 detainees to be released. They gave it as a condition that there can be no peace agreement or peace negotiation that should be allowed unless these detainees are allowed to be set free unconditionally. Eventually, they succeeded. The 11 detainees were released unconditionally. And these detainees include Lord Garkos and the rest. This is what I don't like. Sometimes when people realize you went on live video, they end up calling you. I think this is where Facebook becomes so annoying for those of you that still advocate on Facebook. But for many of us that actually jumped the line and we went to the new social platform, the Clubhouse, we find it very easy to control things on Clubhouse as opposed to Facebook. On Facebook, sometimes when people interrupt you by calling, it becomes very annoying. And it actually cut off your continuous circulation of your message. And it make it very boring. But with that being said, hopefully I'm not going to be disrupted. Let me continue with what I was saying. So eventually, Lord Garkos became part of the 11, and they were released because of the advocacy from Dr. Riek and his forces. And then when they were released, many of them chose to go their own way instead of them supporting the cause that destroyed South Sudan, the cause that killed thousands of people in Juba. And then Lord Garkos stood with the IO at the time, and until a few years ago when he decided to rejoin the SPLM-IG together with Taban Dengaj, that resulted to what we came to know as the J1 dogfight. From then, Lord Garkos started going against the IO, and not only the IO, he started also circulating wrong messages against the Nuer people. And Lord Garkos, to date, greeting to you, Kwan Malwal. It's been a long time, brother. Nice to see you. So from that time on, Lord Garkos was at odds with the Nuer people and also the SPLM-IO and any other opposition out there that is seeking a change to the regime of Salva Kiir. What changed Salva Kiir's mind, many of us do not know. But for those of us that were closely monitoring the decision making within the IO, we knew exactly what was it that agitated Lord Garkos. The search for fame and money was the one that pushed Lord Garkos away from the IO to the cause that he betrayed the movement and his own people, the Nuer people. Today, Lord Garkos is part of the regime of Salva Kiir, and subsequently, now Lord Garkos has become a fierce rival to the IO and the Nuer community progress. The vision of the IO and the vision that is allowing the Nuer to support the IO has become an arch rival to Lol Garkwa. Therefore, up to now, Lol Garkwa has tainted his hand with the blood of the Nuer. He has accepted this I think it was 3 years ago in my Wood conference when he went and he apologized and he actually accepted that he had a hand in the conflict that happened in my hood. The conflict that happened in my hood, Lol Garkwa accepted responsibility. And therefore, those people in my hood that perish, they must hold Lol Garkwa accountable. And the rest of the people of South Sudan, Nuer in particular, will hold Lol Garkwa accountable for what he has orchestrated in my hood and what he continued to spearhead up to now. Therefore, the latest statement is not an isolated statement. It is a series of continuous statements released by Lol Garkwa against his very own people, his very own community. And another derogatory statement released by Lol Garkwa, if you guys still remember, remember on the burial of Majur, Lol Garkwa released a statement where he even said that the Nuer White Army were not only just an opposition, they were criminal, and he called them terrorists, forgetting that these were men that are his nephews, his sons, his cousins, and so forth. So Ezekiel Lol chose to betray his own kind so that he can continue to receive the incentive for doing so. So now let us look into his statement, and then I'm going to respond briefly. Okay, so now this was released on January 2nd, headed as My Personal View on the Conflict in Jonglei State. This is Ezekiel Lol Garkwa. My Personal View on the Conflict in Jonglei State by Ezekiel Lol Garkwa, January 2nd, 2026. The ongoing fighting in Ward UI is deeply concerning. From my perspective, these conflicts are being fueled by certain individuals in the diaspora, while the real burden is borne by innocent civilians on the ground. History has shown us repeatedly that whenever conflict erupts, it is the most vulnerable, such as women, children, the elderly, and ordinary families who suffer the consequence. Those who are encouraging or instigating violence from afar must reflect seriously on the consequences of their actions. Conflict does not bring honor or solution. It brings loss, displacement, and long-term trauma to communities that are already struggling. It is also important to acknowledge that the government of the Republic of South Sudan has a constitutional responsibility to protect its citizens and preserve national security. As clearly stated by SSPD spokesperson Major General Lu Roy-Kong, civilians have been advised to stay away from the military installations, signaling that the government actions against armed criminals elements is imminent. In my view, while peace should always be pursued through dialogue, there are moments when peace must be firmly enforced, especially where armed elements are holding communities hostage and undermining stability. When lawlessness threatens innocent lives, decisive action become necessary. I believe the time to act is now. The SSPDF should therefore undertake a careful plan and responsible security mission to areas currently under the control of SPLMIO and other anti-peace element border towns such as Akobo and the surrounding areas must be effectively managed and secured by the national government. These areas are strategically important, and reports of illegal activities, including the smuggling of arms and ammunition into South Sudan, cannot be ignored. Strengthening government control over these borders, these border points, is not about punishment. Rather, it is about restoring order, protecting civilians, and safeguarding national sovereignty. Sustainable peace cannot exist where armed groups operate freely outside the law. Finally, it must be stated clearly that this conflict is between the Republic of South Sudan. Finally, it must be stated clearly that this conflict is between the Republic of South Sudan and the SPLMIO, plus the anti-peace element. It has nothing to do with tribes or clans in the Republic of South Sudan. Any attempt to tribalize this situation is dangerous and irresponsible. This is a matter of peace, law, and national security, not tribal identity, and it must be treated as such by all. This is your son, Lol Garkot. This is your son, January, Nilol Garkot. And I will repeat, this is your son, January, Nilol Garkot. Tangwazni, God kon te kon te takel ke Salfakir. Nika changa ichi Salfakir goro go banana ka jeka December 2013. Mana God kon te chaba go yu ken ichi ka duere ko cha chi mana kien or a joken Salfakir go paline ika choka lo jau churan man tu do ja ka mal chare ga del niam Salfakir ko ba ka palika. Chu thankian begien chua mei te la mei ga Nuer chua dei kien kwen ku that is the maximum betrayal. Men chua lu ba ka kulo ngaz ka je Salfakir o ken ni chiga loy kui Salfakir. Chu ken goro ba gan man kien betray to the point o ba dei mei kien ba kwen ku bi ken ko lo na ka je wan. As in return, we Salfakir ba ka kulo trust. So can a lot can and these are those of Luraikong, those of Lolgarkos, those of Tabandang, and many. But these three, Lolgarkos, Luraikong, Tabandang, Kadaman Lolgarkos, and Raigarkos. These men kayen January. No can the Altakon Ganadin Kong di Jahredan, teaching Loika Salfakir, but these people, you must take a good note. We are not Muga, we are create Kaquidia. Nay, tea, Ray Dun January. Yeah. Go near research, but be a latco, can deal Nuarigan, Kia Chica deal Nuara. Deal Nuara can Pankian, Kia Chica deal Nuara. Who the actions, the activities, the choice of words, something is not right. I'm going to mix it in Nuer and English for better understanding across aisles. So now, when I look at the statement from Lolgarkot, Michi Wego here, Lolgarkot at first introduced the problem, which he deemed necessary to be addressed. the ongoing fighting in Wad and Yai, he said it was deeply concerning. But in reality, this was not concerning to Lol, because how can Lol be concerned when these areas are areas that are being controlled by the IOs, and Lol himself betrayed the IOs and the Nuer. So perhaps Lol is a cunning creature. He's trying to mislead and misinform people, also to confuse some of the Nuer to believe that at least Lol is perhaps a bit of concern, and at least he has a sympathetic feeling for the Nuer. But let it be known that Nuer and Lol are on contrary views and opinion. Lol Garkwas is no longer a sympathetic son of the Nuer. His feelings are contrary to the Nuer feelings. The pain in which the Nuer people have undergone over the years, Lol Garkwas do not feel it. Lol Garkwas do not even see it. So now when Lol Garkwas claimed that the situation and the fighting in Wad is deeply concerning, that is mischievous. That is not truthful. He cannot be concerned about what is going on in Yai, because Lol himself claimed responsibility for betraying the Nuer or the Gajak, okay, in my wood. His hands are already tainted with the Nuer blood. So he's a Nuer enemy, together with Salva Kiir. We need to know that. And Lol Garkwas need to know that he's an enemy to the Nuer and the progress of this Nuer community. And who is him also talking about the conflict? When he's now a supporter of Salva Kiir regime, who is the orchestrator of the conflict, who is also the same person that is deliberately abrogating and destroying peace agreements, and then in return advance war into Nasser and the areas within greater Jikany areas. Salva Kiir is the one responsible for destruction of Nasser and Gulang and Burabie. Most of our civilians that left the areas fully blame Salva Kiir for doing so. And anybody that is sympathetic to the regime of Salva Kiir, you are also blaming this. And Lol Garkwas, you are part and parcel of Juba regime that is destabilizing our communities. So who are you to come here and show us how sympathetic you can be when you are indeed a supporter of a regime that is debilitating the Nuer society? Okay? And also in his statement, Lol is trying to tell the world that those who are encouraging the conflict in South Sudan are those in diaspora. That we in the diaspora are the one advocating and enabling the war in South Sudan. But these are untrue. How can a mere citizen such as myself and you, those who are in diaspora, advocate the war in South Sudan? The person that is an advocate for the war in South Sudan is Salva Kiir. Every statement that comes out of Salva Kiir's mouth and his supporters signify that there is war in South Sudan. So when we come here as mere citizens to inform our people of what Salva Kiir is doing to them and what he's going to do to them in the near future, then we cannot be wholly responsible for the conflict. Salva Kiir must be fully responsible for the conflict in South Sudan. He is a person that is destabilizing the nation. He is also the person that is not willing to bring peace to the people and the nation of South Sudan. Therefore, Salva Kiir is responsible. If you are a supporter of Salva Kiir, you are also responsible. If you are sympathetic and you are not a supporter of Salva Kiir, and then you sympathize with Salva Kiir, you are also a supporter of war and conflicts in South Sudan. Because Salva Kiir is a danger. Salva Kiir is a genocidal. He is the one that genocided the people of South Sudan from December 2013 to current. He has proven beyond reasonable doubt that he does not want peace to reign in South Sudan. Because if Salva Kiir was indeed for peace, how was it possible for Salva Kiir to abrogate the peace agreement in 2015, in June and July of 2016? If Salva Kiir was indeed for peace, then how did Salva Kiir abrogate the 2018 peace agreement? So let us not come here and mislead and disinform the public that Salva Kiir is for peace and that SPLM-IG are for peace. The world have known, the record have shown that the regime of Salva Kiir is not for peace. And it's not for peaceful settlement of our conflict. The arrest of Dr. Riek Machar and the 7 Nuer men, and even those who were released, remember from March 2025 to current, more than 200 people were arrested in Juba. And all these people were from SPLM-IO, a signatory to the peace agreement. It was capped off by the arrest of Dr. Riek Machar. So for those of you that continue to speak about peace agreement in South Sudan, I fail to understand your logical capacity. I fail to understand where you anchor your logical and sensible manners. Because any logical person, not only a South Sudanese, but throughout the world, understand when you sign a peace agreement and you went to implement an agreement with somebody who is a signatory to the agreement, and one signatory to the agreement chose to actually annihilate, arrest, and abrogate the peace agreement, then they must be wholly accountable. So where do we find these people with this logic that Salva Kiir is for peace? Salva Kiir is not for peace. Now, Lord Garkwas, on the other hand, is trying to tell us that the SPLM-IO and the Nuer are fighting the Republic of South Sudan. That is a stupid statement. That is a stupid statement to be made by someone who believe that he can be seen or regarded as a highly ranked person. Lord Garkwas was a minister at one point. He was a minister of petroleum at one point. Yet his statements are so misguided to a point that you can not find an easy way to comprehend who is this person and where is his logical capacity. So if Lord Garkwas would come here and tell us today that the IO is fighting a Republic of South Sudan, who are the SPLM-IO? Who are the actors in the SPLM-IO? Are they not citizens of South Sudan? And who is Salva Kiir? Is he not a citizen of South Sudan? The SPLM-IG are a party. The SPLM-IO is a party. Any supporter of Juba regime, you are a citizen of South Sudan. A supporter of IO are citizen of South Sudan. So this is just a split. These are citizens that were split based on what had happened in December 2013. Up to date, there are people that still believe that the regime of Salva Kiir has gone astray, and we cannot do anything to rehabilitate it, and it must be changed. Therefore, the people, the men and women that are going against the regime of Salva Kiir, they are patriotic sons and daughters of this country. They are not going against the country. They are going against an ill-advised individual, a regime that have got evil intent to wipe out in full or in part a community of Nuer and any other affiliated communities that are supporting or sympathetic to the dying community, which is the Nuer nation. Those who are also with the SPLM-IO, they are not fighting a state. They are not fighting a nation of South Sudan. They are fighting a regime of Salva Kiir who were misled by the JCE to destroy the country, loot its resources, and genocide one tribe. The ideology is to change this regime and bring a workable agenda, democracy, federalism, so that we can build this country together. This is the principle, the vision, and the ideology of the SPLM-IO. Therefore, the SPLM-IO is not fighting the nation of South Sudan, nor does it fight the people of South Sudan. IO is fighting greedy men, evil men, terrorists, and organized terrorist groups under the umbrella of the SPLM or SSPDF. These are the forces that are being faced by the SPLM-IO, the NAS, and all the other suffering citizens of South Sudan. So when Lord Garkos come out and say that the IO and the Nuer are fighting the Republic of South Sudan, that is misguided information. That is a statement that was delivered to belittle the movement of IO and the interests of the popular people of South Sudan. And we will not accept that. We will not accept that. Another statement. Lord Garkos said that it is also important to acknowledge that the government of the Republic of South Sudan has a constitutional duties or responsibility to protect its citizens and preserve national security. This is also a lie. The regime of Salva Kiir as we stand does not have any legitimacy. Neither does it have legal parameters to control the Republic of South Sudan. The regime of Salva Kiir as we stand is not legitimate because the legitimacy of Salva Kiir as a president of the Republic of South Sudan from December 2013 was renewed or reinvigorated through a series of peace agreements. So every time there is an abrogation to the peace agreement, or whenever there is an halt to the peace agreement, that legitimacy is also abrogated. So Salva Kiir legitimacy is gone from March 2025, when Salva Kiir chose to go against the will of the people and the will of the peace agreement by arresting Dr. Riek Machar and his supporters or leaders in Juba. Salva Kiir already arrested the peace agreement. Equally, Salva Kiir arrested his own legitimacy. So, and for the fact that we do not advocate enough that Salva Kiir is illegitimate, that does not mean Salva Kiir remain to be legitimate. Salva Kiir has abrogated the peace agreement. the 2018 peace agreement that took Dr. Riek Machar and the IO to Juba. So therefore, as we speak, Salva Kiir is not a legitimate president of the Republic of South Sudan because his legitimacy was produced through a series of peace agreements. So what we have in Juba are individuals under the leadership of Salva Kiir that has squandered the opportunities for the people of South Sudan to see peace. And now, because the environment in Juba suited them, they use that environment to curtail every peace agreement, to stop every implementation of the reaccess, and therefore install its own leadership. That is why SOA is now consumed. All the other political parties, even that party of Abdelbagi Ayi, is consumed within the SPLA of Salva Kiir, SPLM of Salva Kiir. All the other opposition alliances, all are consumed and now forced to be integrated within the SPLM and SPLM-IG. So as we speak, there is no viable opposition that is able to speak in Juba, apart from the IO. It is the only viable opposition movement in South Sudan currently, seconded by NAS, that has forces on the ground, that has wide support throughout the country. There is none other than IO and NAS. The rest have now been forced to submit to Kiir's notion of abrogating the peace agreement and installing its own leadership in Juba. So it is up to you and I to advocate strongly to the world over that the regime of Salva Kiir has destroyed the peace agreement. There is no legitimacy. The regime of Salva Kiir is not legitimate. The concocted affiliation with those of powerful cannot legitimize the regime of Salva Kiir to be the effective government of the Republic of South Sudan. It cannot be legitimized by powerful and his group. The full legitimacy of the reaccess and the legitimacy of President Salva Kiir and the first vice president come through a signed peace agreement. Any altercation, any alteration to the peace agreement cannot legitimize anybody. It cannot legitimize IO, it cannot legitimize President Salva Kiir. Therefore, let us take this message very clear that Salva Kiir is not legitimate. So anybody has the right now to rise up against Salva Kiir because he's not legitimate. All right? Those who fear the truth, we will continue to preach it. So now when this guy called Olgarkos claimed that the government of Salva Kiir has a constitutional duty, that's wrong, that's lie. Salva Kiir does not have any constitutional duties after he abrogated the peace agreement. Let us also go back to the peace agreement. The peace agreement clearly stipulated that the peace agreement as it was signed will be incorporated within the transitional constitution of the Republic of South Sudan. Upon completion, this document called peace agreement will be the supreme document in which South Sudan decision-making will be based upon. If there is any disagreement or any point of content while this peace agreement is in effect or during the transitional period, the interest of the peace agreement will be the supreme. It will be number one option. So that means the transitional constitution of the Republic of South Sudan is under the peace agreement. based on the reactions. And that is why, if you guys remember, in September last year, when the first court setting was done, there was an argument from the defensive lawyers of Dr. Riek and the IO that the jurisdiction is not warranted, that there was no jurisdiction that is able to judge Dr. Riek and his men. Why? Because of the language which was signed in the peace agreement. Peace agreement was very clear about how we are going to move forward when there are areas of discontent. But because we are being led by men and women who happen to be leading tribes in state, they deliberately ignore the language of peace. They deliberately ignore the signatures and chose to go with tribes and mannerism relatable to tribe. That's how they end up abrogating the peace agreement. So today, the SSPDF and Salva Kiir, they are illegitimate. Okay? They are illegitimate. Let us not believe in them. We are on our own, and we will pave our own way forward. Lord Garkos is also a nobody to us. His advice are nothing. Okay? And then he also went on by saying, that he prefer, let me quote him directly, strengthening government control over these border points. He was referring to Akobo and all the other areas eastward. This is the agenda which was spearheaded by these men, the so-called Nuer, the Nuer Yoni. They are the one that manipulated those actors within the SPLM of Salva Kiir. They would prefer peace agreement to be abrogated so that the interest will be implemented by Salva Kiir. And what is the interest? The interest is to get money from Salva Kiir. The interest is to disunite their communities, as what we have seen in Maiwood. We have seen it in all the other areas in the Nuer land. So they use money to cause disunity within the Nuer land, so that the interest of JCE, which is to control the borders of South Sudan, can be allowed. The Nuer will not allow this. The Nuer must not allow this to be successful. Because if you allow Salva Kiir and his regime to control the borders, then you are killing yourself. You are going to kill yourself eventually. So we must stand our ground to make sure that borders must not be controlled by JCE and the regime of Salva Kiir. Finally, he said he clearly has to state that this conflict is between the Republic of South Sudan, and I already responded to this. This conflict is not between the Republic of South Sudan. This conflict is between the IO, the Nuer, the suffering citizen of South Sudan, versus Salva Kiir, and the gluttonous few such as Lol Garkot, okay, the evil men that want to control South Sudan affairs, the corrupted few, the tribalistic mannered individual, those who want to formulate a Jihadism agenda in South Sudan. Okay, this is war between evil and good. This is war between democracy and dictatorship. This is war between central leadership of Salva Kiir versus federalism. Choose ye which side you want. Choose which side you want. For me, I prefer federalism, democracy, and the rule of law, justice and accountability. reparation for better future of this country. That is the side I've chosen. I've turned down the side of evil, which is led by Salva Kiir, the side of tribalism by Salva Kiir, the side of nepotism by Salva Kiir, the side of corruption by Salva Kiir, the side of raping by Salva Kiir, dehumanization by Salva Kiir, genocide by Salva Kiir, castration of our men and boys by Salva Kiir, and genocide beyond repair by Salva Kiir. These sides are evil, and we must turn away from them. You must identify. The signs are very clear. The differences are very, very clear. It's either you go with the side of evil, which is led by Salva Kiir, or the side that want to formulate a unified front for the people of South Sudan, the side of goodwill. That is the Ayu, the Nuer, and the suffering citizen of South Sudan, the Nas as well, and all the other opposition that believe they are victims of Juba regime. So, in my simple response to Lol Gatkos, there's nothing new that will come out from you. You and the likes of Lul Raikong and many likes men and women that support Salva Kiir because of money and material gains. The time has come for you to be annihilated. You must be disassociated from the Nuer community. I truly believe that the men like you will never benefit this community because you are siding with the regime that is genociding your own people. Yet you continue to maim your very own people by giving them name, calling them terrorists, calling them criminals, calling them unruly. You supported the notion of the Nuer counties being segmented into hostile and non-hostile, violent and non-violent. That has never happened before. Even during Jalaba, we were never categorized as such. Yet you have the audacity to come here today and tell us what? Lord Gadkoth, it is my humble belief that you must be distanced from the Nuer community. The Nuer people must disassociate themselves with you because you are a danger to them. You are a danger to the Nuer people. You are a danger to the progress of this society called Nuer. You are also a danger to the building of South Sudan as a nation. Any goodwill ambassador out there, any goodwill Nuer people out there must make sure they distance themselves from you and your likes. Because your behavior, you yourself, Lord Gatkot, Luraikong, Tabandang, and many others, you have actually helped Salva Kiir in excavating, rather exacerbate the Nuer suffering. The Nuer suffering is indeed exacerbated by your long standing with Salva Kiir, supporting Salva Kiir in generating ideas that destroy your very own community, your very own kinds. The bombardment of Nasser, the bombardment of Wulang and the vicinities areas, the bombardment of Angag and Jazeera and areas in Bantu, and most recently in Lankan, Wad, Yuai, and most areas under the control of the Nuer, the Ayos, is a further proof that you guys are no longer part of this community. you have proven without a doubt that you are no longer part of this community. That those who gave you the name Nuer, the likes of Makwilwe and Kwalmanyang, were right. That you have accepted to betray your very own community, to debilitate your very own community because of material gains. The Nuer sons and daughters that have accepted to be paid monies, to be given properties, in order for them to align the ego with Salva Kiir in destroying the community of Nuer and destroying South Sudanese that are affiliated with the vision of the IO, all of you should be proscribed. You must be proscribed from the Nuer community. You must be proscribed from the Nuer community and her affair. Because you concede defeat. You concede defeat. You also concede that the Nuer as a community and the suffering citizens of South Sudan must accept the plan to depopulate the Nuer, to dehumanize the Nuer, to genocide the Nuer, and to destroy the Nuer mentally in order for them to be incapacitated for future responsibility in this country. You have accepted to be enslaved by Salva Kiir and the JC elites in exchange for your very own community. This is very sad, very sad. You guys need to be proscribed in the community of Nuer. You must be proscribed from this community. You are an evil because your intentions bear evil consequence in our community. You bear destruction. You brought destruction, you brought disunity, and you continue to sell the interests of our people. So I truly believe, my fellow Nuer people, that if we were to recuperate from this destruction caused by our very own sons and daughters that have switched sides from us to support the regime of Salva Kiir while in its own path of destroying our very own community, I truly believe that we must proscribe these people from the affairs of our community because they have conceded to Kiir regime and the JCE plans to destroy and to depopulate our community. We must continue to render them ineffective in our community in the future, currently and into the future. We must distance them away from our community, from our very own decision-making within our community. We must distance these people away from us. This is the only sure way. This is the only way for us This is the only way, in my own opinion, that we will be pragmatic. Otherwise, these people will continue to confuse us. They will continue to divide us and disunite us. We must distance them from us, or actually distance ourselves away from them. You find them, you will know that they are your enemy. These Nuer that have betrayed the cause and that continue to betray our path to establish this country as a viable state among the nations of the world, they are gullible. They are gullible. Easily fooled. Easily fooled. They are gullible. Bad individual that should not be allowed to have a stand and a stake in this community. So Lolgar Court is insignificant as we move forward into the future. Lurai Kong also is insignificant. Taban Dengai must also be rendered insignificant. And any of the like minds, men and women alike, must be distant from our community because they are insignificant. If we allow them, it is our downfall. It is my humble pledge to we the Nuer people and those opposition alliances that are joining us PLMIO that we must work very hard to make sure these people are really distanced away from us because they are terribly evil. They carry ill intent. They do not have anything tangible for us. My second topic, some of these are just information, that the SOA in Greater Law Nuer disbanded and they joined the SPLMIO. First and foremost, I have to congratulate them for doing so. The logical reason they produced yesterday at the ceremony when they were received to join the SPLMIO and be part and parcel of the movement. In Akobo, they said that the politicians whom they entrusted to go to Juba upon the signing of the peace agreement in 2018, together with the IO leadership, they went and they moved away from the SOA principle and they joined the regime of Salva Kiir, meaning they betrayed their own soldiers and troops that they left in the cantonment areas. And therefore, they distanced themselves by saying that those leaders, the politicians in Juba that have signed an agreement or maybe had a memorandum of understanding with them and Salva Kiir, they will no longer support. They do not have, they do no longer enjoy their confidence in the bush. And therefore, they relinquish the association with SOA as a forces or militaries, and they had to join the real and true authentic movement under the SPLMIO of Dr. Riek Machar. So they were well received, and they are now part and parcel of the movement moving forward. So I think it's very clear, and we should all congratulate them for making such a bold statement. And this should be done equally by all the others that are still that are still in the bushes, or in town centers, or in villages, that continue to be misinformed that there is peace in Juba, and that the leaders that happen to be politicians are implementing peace with the regime of Salva Kiir. You must know that peace was destroyed the day when Salva Kiir put under house arrest Dr. Riek Machar. There is no peace in South Sudan, and there is no legitimate government in South Sudan. Salva Kiir has lost his legitimacy by abrogating the peace agreement. So let us all move together, join the ranks of the SPLMIO, the NAS, as authentic opposition that will spearhead the change that we are all yearning for. So congratulations to the forces of SOA that joined the IO. There is one group of SOA, I think it's Sun or Sum, I think it's Sum, whose leader happened to be Nuer Chagor. His men currently say that they are still waiting for Dinay to respond to their questions before they make a decision. Hopefully, we will hear from them. Otherwise, the few that are still stranded, in some points in low Nuer areas, they will be consumed by the IO. because we can no longer entertain this nonsense. It's either Nuer will come out to clarify his position, either he has joined the SSPDF or the SPLM of Salva Kiir, just like those of SOA, like Abdelwagi Ayi, this guy Lao Chang, and many, even those of Dagdo Bicho, those of Tabanda. You must make your position very clear, Honorable Dina Chago. I know you have been appointed as a minister of tourism. Perhaps that's what is making your few soldiers not to make a decision. But you must make a decision, otherwise your forces, if there are any, the few that we know where they are, will be consumed by the IO. Let us move to the next one. Paul Nang. Paul Nang went to Gadiang overnight and is in Gadiang to try to uplift the mood. As we know, the SSPDF has been on run from Ward and all the other areas. Most recently from Yai, they all been on run. They are now in Gadiang trying to give themselves a push to continue fighting. But the question that we will come to ask later on is, what will the SSPDF fight for? So yeah, I'm just informing you that it is confirmed that Paul Nang went to Gadiang to help uplift the mood of his soldiers in order for them to fight the IO and impede their progress toward Bor and subsequently to Juba. So now you have heard that, the question that I will be asking, or actually I will come to ask it later in my number 5. The other thing that I want to talk about is the forced recruitment. In the last 2 days, news have been circulated from Awil and Greater Barghazal that there is a forced recruitment by the regime of Salva Kiir to the local youth of Awilians, that they are being forced to be conscripted into the SSPDF or SPLA and be airlifted, or actually some of them were forced to have been airlifted to Juba and to Bor for further deployment. But the question that we will ask here now is, those who are being forcibly conscripted into SSPDF, you should ask questions of what are you going to fight for, who are you fighting for, and where are you going to fight to defend. And also you should ask Salva Kiir and his regime that where are his troops? Where are his troops? Now that they are coming to recruit from you guys, where are his troops? But you need also to remember the regime of Salva Kiir for years have denied payment to the soldiers. The SSPDF were not paid for a year or two. Some of them are dying, collapsing on the streets of Juba because of hunger. If you look at them, most of them are malnourished. Yet they have the audacity to come to your community to do further recruitment. I think the logical capacity you should use is to ask questions. Where are our men that we have contributed before the onset of the conflict? Where are they? Where are the men that are your soldiers, you Salva Kiir? Where are they? So if the men in uniform are running away and they don't want to face the oncoming traffic of the SPLM-IO. Why would you, Awilian, accept to be conscripted forcefully and be deployed to the front line to come and fight and die for something that you don't know? Something that will not directly benefit you. For nearly 13, 15 years now, Salva Kiir has been in power through the conflict and civil wars. Is there any incentive that you have received over the past 13, 15 years of our conflict? I think there is none. The Awilian are dying, perishing in vain through poverty and hunger. There is no development in Awil. There are no services given to the people and the region as a whole. So what would give you this hope that let us fight for Salva Kiir and keep him in power, and then he will give us something of substance when he wins? Salva Kiir has been in power since 2005. That is over 21 years in power. And he produced nothing for us. He gave us nothing apart from death, destruction, dehumanization of the people of South Sudan, and causing untold suffering. Millions of refugees, internal displaced, and external displaced as well. That is what we know Salva Kiir has done. So I think this time around, the Awilian, the Jin as a community, and any other communities within South Sudan, or let me say any tribe in South Sudan that ought to support the regime of Salva Kiir, you must seriously question what is it that is your incentive. Remember Salva Kiir when he was signing peace agreement, actually when he was running away from the agreement in 2015, before he was followed about 11, 12 days later. He was pressing a question of what were his incentive of signing an agreement. What would his incentive be when he signed that peace agreement? That should also be your humble pledge in asking question, what are your incentives in supporting Salva Kiir? Malong Awan supported Salva Kiir, recruited from your community. Many of them died and they perished in vain. Malong Awan today is not in Juba. What were his incentives? And what were those who perished during Malong Awan incentive? Here came others, such as Akolkur. Akolkur also made a lot of gains, recruitment and so forth. But what are currently his gains? What are currently his incentives? You should ask yourself, what shall your incentive be should you fight for Salva Kiir? Do you have any logical capacity to fight for Salva Kiir really? Do you have any incentive that you will use to fight and defend Salva Kiir? Or it is just the same thing that we have witnessed, that you will be conscripted forcefully to fight for Salva Kiir, and then you will be left to die with hunger in Juba. You will continue to protect Salva Kiir while they're actually taking a lot of resources out of our country. His sons and his families are actually lucratively enriching their families. Yet you die on the street. Like yesterday, I was watching a video of one police that collapsed on the streets of Juba. That is not an isolated case. We have seen many cases such as that. People were, dying on the streets of Juba because of hunger. And these were not just mere citizens. They were soldiers, they were former servicemen, and they were current police and traffic police on the streets of Juba, dying on the streets of Juba in the name of keeping Salva Kiir in power. Yet they don't even have food for their tummies. So you, the Awilian, before you are deployed to the front line and die in vain, like those whom were deployed by Malonga I during the early days of our conflict, they all perished and died in vain. I think today you should equally ask the same question, that if we were to be deployed in a front line or on all the front lines, and we go to die, what is our incentive? Those who perish for the past 16 years period of our conflict, are their families well off? Are their families being rendered any services by the regime of Salva Kiir? Absolutely not. Because I know some, I can even name families that I know that are very, are suffering currently in South Sudan. Some of whom are actually beggars now on the streets of Juba. And their sons, their daughters, their fathers were deployed on front lines to die in defending Salva Kiir. Now their sons and daughters, their wives, their relatives are turned to beggars because no one look after the interests. You will be the next one. That if you refuse to learn the message that you have seen over the years, then you will be the next victim. Your families will be the next to beg on the streets of Juba and all the other major towns of South Sudan. So I'm humbly advising you to turn down this forced recruitment. There is nothing beneficial for you to go and perish in line of duty to protect Salva Kiir. The IO is now coming for Salva Kiir. It's coming for those men that include the gluttonous Nuer, such as Lurai Kong, such as Lolgat Kwot, such as Tabandang, who only enrich their tummies. We are coming for them. They are the ones that actually squandered the opportunity for us to live in peace and peaceful coexistence. Because if they accept the 2015 peace agreement, if they had accepted that peace agreement, thousands of people that were lost between 2015 and now should have been spared. But they chose their own tummies. They went against the peace agreement of 2015. Men died, women died, children perished. Again, they repeated the same mistakes. Now, in 2018 peace agreement. Now they are going against that peace agreement. They rendered that peace agreement ineffective. So now the war is going to the doors of Salva Kiir. You, the citizens and the civilians of South Sudan, you are not the enemies of IO unless you nominate yourself to be one. You are not even the enemies of the Nuer people, because the Nuer from the onset were victims of the brutal regime of Salva Kiir. The Equatorians are victims of the regime of Salva Kiir. Even the Anuak were bombed. They were the victims of Salva Kiir. The Fertit of Wow are the victims of Salva Kiir regime. The Murle were once the victims of Salva Kiir. The Chola people are also the victims of the regime of Salva Kiir. Right across, corner to corner, throughout the land of South Sudan, we are all victims of Salva Kiir regime. Whether you are a citizen that happen to be a normal Jeng, or you happen to be a Nuer, So long you identify what is the problem in that country, you are considered an opposition. If you tend to correct the regime of Salva Kiir and the path that they are leading us, you are an immediate target of that regime. So we that has been victimized for the past 15 years, and you that continue to wallow in poverty without development, you live a life of despair through the regime of Salva Kiir, you are also a victim. I think the time has come for all the victims to unite. The time has come for all the victims to move together and get rid of this evil and the evil regime of Salva Kiir, so that we are able to formulate a workable agenda that is going to safeguard the future of our country. Because currently, the way we see things, the occurrences of our country, of our events in our country, signify that if we cannot change, South Sudan does not have a future. Because Salva Kiir on the other side does not have an agenda for this country. It doesn't have a workable agenda. If you ask the supporters of Salva Kiir regime, of what is the agenda of Salva Kiir, no one will come and sit and debate with you. In fact, if you are in the in an environment that is suiting them, you will be hanged alive. You will be killed. That is the only way. That's the only way they can silence you. That's the only thing they know. So the debate is to kill the citizens of South Sudan, to silence them. They don't have tangible arguments with tangible evidence to prove that something tangible is going to emanate from them. They are killers. They are destroyers of this country. In fact, they are the real enemies of South Sudan. They are the real enemy of our progress. They are the real enemy of the people of South Sudan. I think the sooner the Awilian, the Baragazal people realize that the regime of Salva Kiir is no longer serving the interests, the sooner they will move away and the sooner they will forge unity with the rest of the people of South Sudan. So my next one. So yes, I'm advising every community that is still sympathetic to the regime of Salva Kiir to not accept your sons and daughters to be forcefully conscripted into SPLM, SPLA, or SSPDF. Do not accept your sons and daughters to be forcefully conscripted, because they will go and die in vain, and there is nothing you will receive in return. Use the previous example as a tool to guide you as you make decisions. To the board, I have seen series of concern raised through videos, through statements by the citizens of the local citizen of Bor that happen to be from Jiang. Their concerns, in my perspective, to some of them, their concerns are genuine. That they perhaps, they're concerned that the SPLM-IO that is moving their way is going to destroy everything on their path. While sometimes it can happen, civilians would be caught in crossfire, it is also imperative for civilians to put in place safety measures that can safeguard lives and protect the livelihoods. In this essence, the sons and daughters of Bor has every right to put in place measures that is able to show to the SPLMIO and the Nuer in general that they are not sympathizers of the regime of Salva Kiir, and that they are not going to be used as a stumbling block that will impede the progress or the movement of the SPLMIO. I think the challenge will go back to the citizen or the civilian in Bor. If you indeed meant your queries and that your concern genuinely carry water, you need to fully show to the people, especially the SPLMIO and the Nuer in general, that you truly are not sympathetic with the regime of Salva Kiir, and that there is no forced recruitment that will be done within your area, and that your area will not be used as a launching pad by the regime of Salva Kiir, because that is what they are best at. Let us take the example of the Abushok and the Dinkas of Apadang that were used as recruits. They were armed by the regime of Salva Kiir. Paul Nang and Cholton Balo went there and they got armed. They were given guns, even the ladies, and they were given ammunition. And they were weaponized to go and kill the local citizens of the Nuer in Nasser and Ulang. This must serve as an example that many of our communities, especially the Jeng in Bor or the Bor and the Twitch, should not emulate. You should not copy, you should not allow yourself to be weaponized by the regime of Salva Kiir against the IO and the Nuer in general. Because the outcome is always catastrophic. When civilians are weaponized by the evil regime of Salva Kiir, the results are not always pleasant. Because that is going to actually smear in and pull in the entire community, even the innocent one. I truly understand that there are innocent citizens in Bor. There are also innocent citizens in Twitch and all the vicinities of Bor and Twitch. But you must do your hard work as well. You must do your hard work to distance yourself from the regime of Salva Kiir, distance yourself from being implicated in this matter. If you truly believe that you are no longer part and parcel of this conflict of Salva Kiir, then you must display utmost practice or practical activities that will show and prove to us that you are not going to be used as a launching pad. You are not also going to be used as malicious by Salva Kiir. Because at the end of the day, if you accept these tricks, the catastrophic scenes will only be bad by you. I'm still going to to plead for many of us, especially those of you in Bor and Twitch. The civilian should move away from those areas. Because the IO has made it very clear that they are not fighting civilians, but fighting the regime of Salva Kiir. But if you become a civilian that is heavily armed and impeding the progress and the movement of the IO and the Nuer, then perhaps you become your very own victim. You dig your own grave. Because we can no longer accept our neighboring communities to be used as sabotagers, launching pad by the regime of Salva Kiir while they sit peacefully in Juba. So the citizens of Bor know that the Nuer people are not your enemies. Civilians across South Sudan know that the Nuer people are not your enemies. Nor is IO your enemies. We are for change. We are the victim of this regime. We had been massacred, genocided beyond description. And the least we can see is to see South Sudanese going again through another wave of genocide. The change that we are spearheading is not a change to advance and inflict more pain and genocide on people of South Sudan. The change that we are yearning for, the change that we are working toward, is a change that is going to salvage our country. It's a change that will make you see a better future together. And this is unopposed to the change Salva Kiir is doing, the destruction that Salva Kiir is doing. So, in conclusion, there should be no concern with the movement of the SPLM-IO and the Nuer and the affiliate groups toward Juba. Now, what will generate concern is the coming of Paul Nang to Gadiang. His activities in Gadiang and furthermore his activities in Bor, because we are aware that there is a garrison in Bor that happened to be under the control of the SPLM-IG. It is also imperative for the civilian to distance themselves away from these areas, so that we reduce the case of civilians, casualties, being caught in crossfire. So we don't have a problem with citizens of South Sudan that are yearning for the same better future that we are working toward. So now, moving toward my conclusion, to the sons and daughters of Nuer, wherever you may be today, we have a full responsibility. If you don't believe in Salva Kiir, and you do not believe that Salva Kiir and his regimes are legitimate, and that you believe that Salva Kiir has done us wrong, and that you believe Salva Kiir has destroyed the national fabric of South Sudan, that Salva Kiir have torn apart our fabric that is bonding us together, that you believe that our unity is at stake so long Salva Kiir continue to be in J1, I think the time is ripe. The time has come for us to come together unconditionally. You have seen the good move done by the NAS months ago. You have seen the good spirit shown by the Kirguang of Gadwell, General Gadwell. You have seen the good faith shown of late by the SOA, especially those forces of SOA that were led by the politician in Long Nuer area that submitted themselves and formed together with the IO. They joined the IO and they say that they have relinquished their participation with the SOA or their collaboration with SOA because SOA has lost way. SOA has nominated to work together with Salva Kiir, and therefore we, the soldiers, the foot soldiers, we do not want to work with Salva Kiir. We want to change Salva Kiir. Okay. So this change is for all of us, we, the suffering citizens of South Sudan. So I do encourage all of us to support the voices that are calling for a genuine peace. And that genuine peace can only come through the already signed peace agreement. There is no unilateral one-man decision in the name of Salva Kiir that should give us peace in this country. How can it make sense that Salva Kiir on one hand destroying peace agreement, arresting the signatory to the peace agreement, and then on the other side lying to the citizen that I am for peace and that I'm bringing peace to the people of South Sudan? That cannot be right. That cannot be right. So Salva Kiir have chose to destroy the peace agreement, and then now the SPLM-IO, together with all the other alliance groups, have been left with no choice. We have been left with no choice. We have been left with no choice but to fight for the interests of this country, to fight to safeguard the interests for the people of South Sudan and the future as a whole. So we cannot accept a person to come today destroying the peace before our very own eyes, and the next day turning again telling us, now because you have accepted my quest to destroy the agreement, now I have another implementation to make. I have another peace agreement. We are not fools. We cannot be taken as gullible. The only people that are gullible are those Nuer that rejoined the SPLM of Salva Kiir. The only gullible people among the Nuer are those who allow themselves to be enslaved in 21st century. The likes of Lu Roikong, the likes of Regai Cook, the likes of Tabandang, the like of Lol Nyakir or Lol Garkwoth, and many others, women and men alike. These men have accepted to be the modern slaves of 21st century under the regime of JCE. But the rest of us have dismissed this, we dismiss it, and we do not accept it. We will never accept to be enslaved by the regime of Salva Kiir so that we become the future slaves of South Sudan. And we accept to be destroyed mentally so that we allow Salva Kiir to have his way in South Sudan. And yet, we and our founding fathers told this land, they move across borders in search of our freedom. We cannot accept it, and we will not accept it. Salva Kiir must go. Salva Kiir must go. Salva Kiir has elected to destroy South Sudan, has elected to not accept peace agreement. Therefore, we will bring peace agreement. The IO will bring peace agreement to the table. We will enforce peace agreement. And this peace agreement will change Salva Kiir regime for good. This peace agreement that we had signed was not a handover deal, and we will not accept a handover deal. We will not accept mistreatment of our people. We will continue to fight for them, and we will fight for ourselves. The time has come for us to unite if you believe you are a victim of this regime. Across all aisles, across political aisles, across tribal lines, across political lines, across developmental lines. If you believe that you are a victim of this regime in any way, we welcome you. Join us. Let us work together in making sure this regime is fully hosted so that we take South Sudan forward through the path that we want. So I thank you all for listening. It's on Sunday today. I'm going to go to church and I will have another session. Lastly, I want to correct one thing. On Clubhouse today, I came across one house which was open, or one room which was open. I think it was Eagle Media. Eagle Media took to analyze the voice of General Thorgang from Akobo. His audio, which he spoke yesterday, upon welcoming and receiving the SOA soldiers. Now they are going around with that audio, trying to demean and belittle General Thorgang. For your information, the statement which was released by General Thorgang was authentic and was well put. The warning he gave to the Murle, it was well put. The warning also, or the head-up warning he gave to the Boer, was also warranted. The Anuak warning also was furthermore warranted. The reminder to the Cholo people was also warranted. There is nothing wrong, you have said. If you truly speak in Tongnas, you would understand those warnings were fully warranted. And for those of you that want to belittle General Thorgang, where were you when Paul Nang? Where were you when Bolmel? Where were you when Salva Kiir? Where were you when Makwelwet? Kwal Manyang? Where were you when those Dinka sons advocated strongly in the interest of one tribe to kill the Nuer, to genocide the Nuer? Even recently at the burial of Majur, where were you when Paul Nang and Cholton Balog spoke, when Bull Mill spoke? And here you are trying to tell us that you know something because of the statement of Thorgang. And you are trying to say that Thorgang is a general, now a general that is supposed to be a general for the people of South Sudan should not speak like that. Where were you when the Chief of General Staff, Paul Nang, said that Nuer are going to be killed, they're going to be to pay a price? Where were you when Bull Mill, a vice president, say, you Potkang, you go and talk to your people. Now the Jikeng were not his people. They are Potkang people. Where were you? Where were you? Where were you when they said that we, Paul Nang, Cholton Balo, and Bull Mill, when they walk together, holding hands together, saying that let us go bomb Nasser. Let us destroy Nasser and all the areas. Let us chase Nuer to Ethiopia. Where were you? And here you are being hypocrites about the message or the statement from General Thorgang. The statement from Thorgang was warranted. In fact, it was very true. It was great warning to Anuak. It was a great warning to Murle. It was also equal warning to the Bor, that we are not an enemy to the civilians of Bor. We are not enemy to the Anuak. We are not enemy to the Murle. Even the Cholo people, we are not the enemies. But time and time again, the regime of Salva Kiir always used them against the Nuer people. So Thorgang was right to issue those warnings. So where do we produce this manner where when a Jeng insulted the Nuer, when a Jeng actually speak in front of people, showing tribalism, sectarianism, assaulting and insulting the community of Nuer, you applaud them, you clap for them. And now when a Nuer man come and actually lay things the way they are, you want to say, oh, look at the Nuer, look at the Nuer. The good thing is, South Sudanese, the international community, they have seen the true colors of all the tribes of South Sudan. They know exactly what we are covering beneath our skin. It has been revealed. It has been revealed. It has been displayed bare to everyone to see. Who doesn't know Salva Kiir, that he's fighting for the interests of Jeng? Who doesn't know the JCE elites? All of them are fighting for the interests of Jeng. Who doesn't know Paul Dang, that is fighting for the interests of Jeng? And who is it that doesn't know Bull Mill? He came as a Jeng, he executed as a Jeng, and he left as a Jeng. So many gentlemen that were given portfolios in the government of the so-called Salva Kiir, they came and people would see them as sons and daughters of South Sudan, but later on they would show their true colors, that they only come to serve the interests of Jeng. So shame on you, those who are advocating today against the message of General Thorgang. Shame on you, the Eagle media. Shame on you, the hypocrite of the JCE surrogates, the apparats. You should be ashamed of yourself. So you are telling us that you applauded the work of Bull Mill, you like the work of Bull Mill, you like the work of Salva Kiir, you like the relentless campaign of Makweleth over the years. You like the lies of Makweleth, the abuse by Paul Manyang, the work of Cholton Balo, and yet now you don't like late General Gadediak, you don't like, because he tells things the way they are. He tells you the truth. You don't like Dr. Riek because he's pinpointing the problems of South Sudan. Now you don't like the statement from General Thorgang because he gave a clear warning to you and the rest that we are not enemies. The Nuer are not enemies. The IO are not enemy to Boer civilians. To the Anuak, to the Murle, to the Cholo. It is you that accept to be an enemy to the Nuer and the IO. This time around, you need to use good lenses to see things clear so that you must not be used. Cholo must not be used by the JCE and the regime of Salva Kiir to be a launching pad against the IO and the Nuer people. And you would be allowed to walk free. No. The Murle equally must not accept to be used as a launching pad by the regime of Salva Kiir and believe that we must allow them to move freely. The same thing with the Anuak, the Anuak. The Anuak were misled. Where did Gerald Thor were wrong? Is it not true that the Anuak were misled? They were armed by the regime of Salva Kiir and deployed from Pochala to Gambela to go and kill innocent refugees that happened to be Nuer descent. Who did that? The regime of Salva Kiir. Who accepted it? The Anuak. Therefore, the statement from Thorgang were right. Any community that is bordering the Nuer that will accept to be used as a launching pad or will accept to be used to impede our progress, we are going to be forced to handle them. Otherwise, if you do not want to accept, if you do not want to be confronted, distance yourself away from the regime of Salva Kiir. Never accept to be used as a launching pad. Never accept to be used as a stumbling block that will impede our progress on our mission. Because we have made it very clear. Thorgang made it clear. The rest of us are making it very clear. Even we, the normal citizens, are making it crystal clear that we are suffering citizens of South Sudan. All of us should move together. With any opposition movement that is strong, that have forces on the ground, that is able to uproot the regime of Salva Kiir. Currently, there is none other than the SPLM-IO, the NAS, and the Kitgwang of General Garwedwal. There is none other than these three. So if you move contrary and you become a stumbling block to these three moving together, then you become a problem. You become a problem that must be uprooted as well. So the only safety net that you must use is to distance yourself earlier enough and make it crystal clear that you are no longer a sympathizer of the regime of Salva Kiir, and you must not be used as a launching pad. I keep repeating this because some of you are speaking on social media are chameleons. You come and tell us today that we are civilian, but tomorrow at night you are going to wear a uniform for Salva Kiir. Some of you are coming here crying foul that the SPLM-IO are destroying this and this, but yet you are the same very people that are giving advice to the regime of Salva Kiir to move to Bor so Bor can be used as a launching ground. We know the garrisons. There is a garrison in Bor. So you, those who believe that you are neutral, those who believe that you are victims of the regime of Salva Kiir, and those of you that believe that you are civilians from Bor and Twitch, I think the best thing you must do is to advocate early enough that the regime of Salva Kiir must distance themselves, move their garrison away from the Bor. Let them go all the way to Gadiang. Otherwise, if the garrison continue to be harbored in Bor, then it is also always imperative. Sometimes we cannot control the casualties, not because we would like to kill the citizens or the civilians, but because the civilians are embroiled between warring parties, warring movements. So I think the citizen of Bor should actually enact safety net first by moving and distancing themselves away from areas that are being used by Salva Kiir and his forces. The other thing that you must also avoid is discourage your youth especially the civil youth. You must discourage them from being conscripted into the SSPDF or SPLA, just like what was done by Cholton Barlow and the Aboshok. Because if such a terrible mistake happened in Bor, and Bor youth are to be conscripted forcefully or submissively or voluntarily by the regime of Salva Kiir, then you will not blame the IO for pointing fingers at the Bor. Because what will be the difference between the forces of Salva Kiir and the Bor as a community, and the Bor as victims? So for us to trust each other, let the victims identify themselves earlier enough, distance yourself from garrisons of the regime of Salva Kiir, and be in regular consultation with the IO and the civil population from the law and the Gawar and the Nuer in general, so that we know exactly who you are. Because the trust that was in existence prior to the Civil War is no longer there. Our society now do not trust each other. Our communities do not owe each other trust. It must be earned. If you want me to trust you, for example, for me to trust Bor, even if they tell me that, oh, okay, we are going to pave, we are going to move away and allow you to go, so long you go all the way to Juba. What trust do I have for the Bor now that, okay, they allow me to go toward Juba? What trust do I have with the Bor? What is it that we have worked together to make sure I trust Bor, that on my way I will go, but on my way back I am free? So these must be enacted upon for the IO and the local population that are moving together with the IO, for them to trust the Bor and the Twitch in general, or any other community, even if we were passing by the Murle, for us to trust them, they must give us an incredible grounds of evidence so that we will actually trust them. Because the trust in South Sudan has been destroyed. It has been shattered by the regime of Salva Kiir. Our communities do not trust each other. So for you to trust me, I have to fully be committed to you and speak with no reservation. We cannot just be fully satisfied with a rhetoric that, oh, we are not part of this conflict. We are not part of this conflict without evidence. Yet through the accounts of evidence that we know, the justice minister is Makoilwet, is from Bor. Okay? Kwon Manyang is advisor to the government of Salva Kiir, is from Bor. Nyandeng, she's now part of the government. She's a vice president. She's from Twitch. Mabior Garang, is a minister in the government of Salva Kiir now. He is also from Twitch, and many others. Okay? So now, where is trust here? And in this, when I say this, I'm not saying the civilians in Bor should be targeted. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the civilians that believe that they are not part of this conflict must do whatever it takes for them to be trusted by their counterparts. They must be trusted by the IO, that whatever they say is true and can be trusted. Otherwise, this mistrust will continue to linger around, and that will bear consequences. There are many of you that I also heard earlier in other rooms in Clubhouse that were talking about the 1991. Sometimes people are speaking of things that they do not have the account of evidence. Many are speaking on hearsays. Very soon I will be coming live to give us evidence of things that had happened. I will be bringing books and articles written by great intellectuals, great scholars, some of whom are sons and daughters of South Sudan, regarding things that had happened. Because when I look at the incident of 1991 of Bor, people have actually misappropriated. They put it in the wrong statement. So we need to dig deep. Where did it go wrong? 2 days ago, I had the humble privilege in one of the clubhouse, and I was reading to everyone about what is this? Okay, there are some information coming to me that there is war somewhere, so I will confirm later. I'm about to conclude. In fact, I'm toward my conclusion. The incident of 1991, truth must be dug out. People need to be educated about what prompted the defeat of the Taurid faction by the Nasser faction from Kwajdang, and subsequently defeating them from their barracks in Bor and Kongor area and all the other areas to Greater Equatoria. These we need to dig out, because there are people only, that only come here emotional and say 1991, and every time you hear about 1991, you just have a feel that, oh, 1991 is about the massacre. And in fact, there was no massacre. Okay? Based on the account of evidence written down in books, the only fact that you will find is the fact that for so long, we only heard from one side. We never heard from the other side. So the people of South Sudan and the world over can balance the information and balance the information and give judgment. So for far too long, we only heard from one side. What caused the war? And who actually instigated the war? It was Garang. It's written in the books. Written in books. Written in books. So we will come and put it out there to everyone, so that you are able to judge for yourself. What is 1991? What does it mean? And was there a massacre? And also we need to also educate ourselves. What is a massacre? What does it mean, the term massacre? Because we can't just bubble words out without actually verifying each of those words. For example, when I talk about Juba genocide, the genocide of the Nuer in Juba, I have incredible, in fact, indisputable account of evidence to show that the Nuer were massacred and genocided in Juba. Both of these words, you can use them. But the best description of what had taken place in Juba was a genocide. I can back it up with account of evidence. All right? But now when we talk about, I'm not ruling out that civilians were killed as a consequence of the wrong decision made by the Tory faction to attack the Nasser faction. And 1 month earlier, they had promised to the international community and the bodies that were organizing dialogue that they will never attack the position of the Nasser faction. But they broke their promise. They were the one that ordered William Yon and Gerald Kolmanyang to attack Adok and Ler. And then again, when they were defeated from Ler 1 week later, and Adok, they went and regrouped and they went and mobilized the youth as far as from Baragazel, deployed them in Bor, and they used them to launch the attack on Kwajdeng, an area which was miles away from Adok. As a consequence of that attack, when they were defeated from Kwajdeng, they never stood their ground again. They were uprooted from Kongor, they were uprooted from Bor, and all the way. So now anybody that dies in between, in the realistic world that we live in, it would be regarded as people that were caught in crossfire. Because these were two movements that were fighting, and one movement was defeated, and this movement hurt garrison in towns that were inhabited by the civilians. Of course, the consequences are that civilians will fall victims. Not because they are being massacred, but because war was being fought in the city or in towns, in villages inhabited by civilians. So this is actually disqualifying the claim that Dr. Riek and the Nasser faction massacred the people of Bor. We will prove this in the next few weeks. And with this, I'm also going to pay my sympathies to the people that succumb to the event. But we must not misinterpret what took place and how these people died by only jumping to a conclusion that Bor were massacred. And we will also come to learn which organization that went to the world quickly, okay, and why that went to the world quickly and broadcast from Bor that there was a massacre done in Bor by the Nasser faction. Okay, we will analyze these books, and I will do it for us, because these books will benefit some of us that have been cocooned in tribal mannerism and politics for far too long. It tells in vivid clarity who caused the war at first between the Taurid and Nasser. It even tells us the organization, the so-called non-governmental organization that helped the SPLA of Garang to fight the Nasser faction. Some organizations are implicated. They even went as far as shooting videos, false videos, to go and actually damage the reputation of Dr. Riek, the image of Dr. Riek, and the organization, the Nasser faction. It was done deliberately. Even the coining of the word massacre was done by the actors, okay? By the actors of the Norwegian People Aid, which was part of the operational landline organization which was operating in South Sudan. These were affiliated to Garang. Garang was actually manipulating them. They even helped Garang with money and tons of badges. We will come to learn these things in the near future. And you will realize that since 1991 to current, there are people who had been born and raised with wrong ideas. They have been infiltrated with wrong information so that they continue to pass this wrong information to the future generation. That is what allows Salva Kiir to genocide the Nuer people in Juba in 2013. Lies that were concocted in 1991 over how many years ago? 30 years later, they would be used by the president in Salva Kiir to kill the Nuer, to genocide the Nuer. It is none other than you and I that must do this. The world must know that for far too long, Garang, the SPLA, and some of the international aid organization or aid workers have deliberately tried to tarnish the image of Dr. Riek Machar, the Nuer community as a whole, and the Nasser function. That is why now when you look at the enemies that we have today, it was fully designed years ago by these actors. The enemies that people are bringing to the Nuer people, when you see the Russian gunship being deployed in South Sudan to kill us, when you see the Ugandan coming here to kill us, when you see the Darfurian used against the Nuer people, when you see the Egyptian tanks used at the earliest inception of this conflict in 2014, the ground was laid bare for us to be massacred and genocided. That is why Ambassador, the president of Nigeria, former president of Nigeria, in his submission after he concluded the research and the investigation of the conflict, he concluded that there was surmountable evidence that there is a system put in place. There was a system designed, put in place for far too long to genocide the Nuer people. And then later on, he was cancelled. He was told, don't use the word massacre. He was told, don't use the word genocide. It is too strong. And then again, those of John Kerry came and they advised through administration of Barack Obama, don't use the word massacre. That is too strong either. Because if we use these terminologies, Salva Kiir will be overthrown. That is because we have been sold out early enough in 1991 by Dr. Garang, the SPLA, and some of the international actors that include the non-governmental organization. We are going to find out in the next few days or weeks. Whenever I get time, once a week or twice a week, I will try to read for you one chapter at a time. And then you guys will realize how we, the Nuer, our image had been tarnished. The reputation of Dr. Riek Machar, his credibility, was tarnished earlier on by Dr. Garang. But we must clean ourselves anew. And this South Sudan must be changed anew. So thank you so much for your time. God bless you. And God bless South Sudan and those opposition that realize that they are the victims of Juba Salva Kiir regime. I encourage you to continue to work together in zeal to make sure that this regime shall no longer continue to control this country and destroy it. Thank you. God bless you.